Well, hopefully everybody can hear me. Um, Hello. I just had to turn my mic on. Hope everybody is doing well. It is Friday. Friday night is 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 7/31, 2020. It's the end of the month. New month coming up. Hopefully this COVID won't tear us a new asshole for the next month, but I live in Michigan and we've got a governor. That's another whole story that I'll talk about later on. But tonight, I just wanted to go over a few things. There's been some bombshell news, and just like to talk over a little bit about it before I start showing some videos. I guess like Maxwell, she perjured herself. Back years ago when she testified, she said she knew of nothing of Epstein and his escapades and what he was doing in the, soliciting and doing things with minors. Well, now recent testimony all has been released. Now there's quite a bit of redacted people's names in this. They're all blacked out, but there's documentation in there about Clinton and other things. So I thought I'd start this up. Let me see. Just bear with me. Hopefully I can get this to work correctly. Okay, I queued it up. Make sure I out of the screen area. Okay, so right now this is I'm not a big fan of CBS or whatever, but they're talking about the what's happening, and we'll go through and find out what they've got to say. I've got some other videos that I want to talk about too, and I'll give my opinion. Here we go.
Now turning to more bombshells in the case against alleged Jeffrey Epstein co-conspirator Ghislain Maxwell. Hundreds of documents and transcripts were released just hours ago after a judge unsealed the records from a civil defamation lawsuit against Maxwell in 2015. The documents detailed new information about sexual abuse claims against her and the former financier, which earlier this month she pleaded not guilty to being a part of. The files include a deposition from accuser Virginia Giuffre, and they also appear to contradict previous claims surrounding the last time Maxwell spoke to Epstein. CBS News correspondent Mola Lenghi reports from just outside the Brooklyn Detention Center where Maxwell is being held.
Just to stop you right there, there's been no complete proof. People are saying that she's held there, but many people believe that she's not even in this country because it's so corrupt. This country's so effing corrupt that she's not even in this country, and they believe that she's talking already. So let's go down this rabbit hole some more.
Ghislain Maxwell's attorneys tried to stop these documents from being unsealed, even asking a U.S. District Court judge to intervene with a phone call. That judge ultimately denied that request, saying that Maxwell's just trying to muddy the waters on her way to mounting a legal defense.
To bring awareness to this.
Weeks after Ghislain Maxwell was denied release on bail as she awaits trial, she figures prominently into newly unsealed court documents, some of which accuse her of facilitating and participating in years of abuse against young women. As for Maxwell's recent claim that it's been more than a decade since she was in contact with Jeffrey Epstein, the documents appear to reveal that is untrue. In a January 2015 email exchange with Epstein, Maxwell wrote she'd appreciate it if a woman named Shelley would come out and say she had been Epstein's girlfriend. Epstein responded, "Okay with me, you have done nothing wrong, and I would urge you to start acting like it. Go outside, head high, not as an escaping convict. Go to parties, deal with it." Now, Maxwell's being held in a federal detention facility and facing up to 35 years in prison. It comes after years of allegations from accusers like Virginia Roberts Giuffre, who is not one of the alleged victims in Maxwell's case. Giuffre spoke to Gayle King earlier this month.
You couldn't say no to Jeffrey and Ghislain because, yeah, you're afraid for your life.
The unsealed documents are part of a settled civil suit between Maxwell and Giuffre. They include a deposition in which Giuffre claimed she was sent to have sex with several high-profile men at Epstein and Maxwell's direction, including the owner of a large hotel chain and a foreign president who she described as, quote, Spanish and in his 40s.
Based on the arrest of Ghislain Maxwell, do you think there are a lot of men in this country, in this world, that should be panicking based on the information that she has?
Oh yeah, and I really hope they are very well-known, popular men that everyone would know the names of. I can't wait for the day of truth to light.
Well, Maxwell's 2016 deposition is expected to be released sometime next week after a U.S. District Court judge denied her attempts to have that remain sealed. Of the documents that we have seen, several names remain redacted, which could be an indication that the scale of Jeffrey Epstein's alleged sex trafficking operation largely remains unknown. Anne-Marie?
So, of course, it actually is way bigger than just one or two women speaking out. There's dozens of women speaking out, and other ones are afraid. Like I said, I believe Maxwell is somewhere, maybe not in America, maybe one of our facilities off out of the United States, because nothing can be trusted. I have a theory that that's one of the reasons why Trump created Space Force. We're not out there in space shoots shooting bad people. It's a separate force that is holding only to the president. That's what I believe. So right now, we don't know where she is. They say she's in a maximum prison, but no one believes that. But what they're saying is that these documents that got released, that a lot of people are redacted on it, but you'll hear right now other people they're talking about, and this is just going to get worse. And do I think that if they do have her, they're going to still attempt to get her? I think so, right up to the last second. Hopefully she's already talked and there's videotape of it.
Mola, thank you very much. Now we want to bring in Ricky Kleeman. Ricky, you are a CBS News legal expert and an analyst, and you've been following this case for over a year now. So let us dig into the details. We have this release of documents. What information, new information did we get? And is this the sort of information that could have an impact on Ghislain Maxwell's ability to have a fair trial?
Well, let me start where you ended. The defense has been not only vocal, they have been persistent. They have filed motion after motion, letter after letter, looking for emergency relief from the court in the civil case to not release any of these documents, but particularly the depositions of both Virginia Roberts Giuffre, which came out within the last few hours, but also the deposition of Ghislain Maxwell, which will come out on Monday. And
so that's something new. They didn't want the redacted testimony from the one accuser, which it did come out, but it's totally redacted. And then there's obviously her thing, I guess, coming out Monday. I'm sure that's going to be heavily redacted, just pages and pages of marked out areas. But this woman's pure evil. This is Hardcore Show episode 5, but I started with Epstein on episode, I think, 1, and worked my way to Maxwell. And she and her father, the nut doesn't fall far from the tree. She's pure evil, and my theory is that she is actually the head kingpin of this. She's the one with all the contacts, and she used his sickness to thrive on small, young women to, what we're finding out is videotaping and everything for extortion. I want to go a little bit more on this one, and then I'm going to go to some other clips and some other people's views.
The reason for that, according to the defense, is that you have a 6-count indictment, 2 counts of perjury dealing with her specific deposition that's coming out on Monday, as well as the master counts of dealing with conspiracy to traffic these young women, some as young as the age of 14, to groom them, to entice them, to arrange their travel, to not only have them available for sex with Jeffrey Epstein, but also with Ghislaine Maxwell. Remember, these are allegations, and also allegedly with other prominent men. So they wanted these documents suppressed. These documents have come out, and they are explosive indeed.
Mm-hmm. And so the focus of those documents, though, the focus was Jeffrey Epstein and his role, not Ghislaine Maxwell. But despite the focus being Epstein, does it even matter? Could they still contribute to Maxwell's case?
Oh, they do contribute to Maxwell's case in 2 ways. One, as Mola spoke in his piece about what these documents reveal, because Ghislaine Maxwell herself, through her lawyers, has said that she had had no contact with Jeffrey Epstein in the last 10 years. And here we see that there are emails, and one, in fact, from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell, explaining to her what her force should be in the press, that she should say that she has been dogged since his charges had happened in 2007, 2008, that she is a victim of slander, that she's been hounded. And all of this is dictated by Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell. That's in the documents. But perhaps far more important are the deposition transcripts from one of the alleged victims, Virginia Roberts Dufresne, who says that not only did Ghislaine Maxwell find her, groom her, entice her, do all the arrangements for her, but that in fact, Ghislaine Maxwell participated in these sexual orgies, if you will, with Virginia, as well as with these other women. Again, remember what Ghislaine Maxwell is attempting to say is that this is all false, and that no matter what Virginia Roberts Dufresne says, and no matter how many times she says it, according to the defendant, it is not true. The government seems very, very strong that they can back up anything or most of the things that Virginia Roberts Dufresne says. And I assume that means other witnesses or travel records or documents.
So just so we're clear, this is officially the second person now that says that Maxwell was involved. She was the groomer, and that she was participating in these underage sex acts. Also, the perjury charges she's getting is because when she was in court testifying, she said that she hadn't really been with, that she really hadn't been with Epstein and didn't know what he was doing. And plain you can see, he's telling her that, you know, she's like, hey, I wouldn't like to be your girlfriend. Can somebody else be your girlfriend? And, you know, just lie low and stuff like that. These are all, you know, these are career criminals. They're deep with the Clintons, and, you know, Hillary Clinton has a death count that continues. So I'm going to go a little bit more with this, and then I'm going to switch to another video.
So the documents also reveal that Ghislaine Maxwell was working on a memoir. Can any of that be used in her case, or could she simply say, oh, it was just, you know, writing something fictional, there's, you know, nothing factual in that?
Well, one of the things that we learned all the way back to the O.J. Simpson case is that there was testimony from a witness in the Simpson case where the witness was going to say, where the witness was saying that O.J. Simpson had told him he dreamed of killing Nicole Brown Simpson. So if you can say that you dreamed of something and it comes into evidence, I assume that there is a good argument to say that if you're writing a memoir, that much of the memoir can come into evidence unless it is really considered completely hearsay.
The documents were heavily redacted, assuming that some of the redacted portions were the names of men who were involved in this alleged sex trafficking ring. Is there a likelihood that we would ever find out who those men are? And do they have any rights?
We may find out who they are if it comes time for testimony in court and that testimony is rendered admissible in a criminal case. You also have to remember that these men, the powerful men, have said that they have done nothing wrong, that all of this is false. So it may be that the defense in the criminal case next July, a year from now, will want to call these men to attempt to show that Virginia Roberts Giuffre is not telling the truth.
So here we have all this documentation. It's salacious, it's controversial. What do you see Ghislaine Maxwell's defense being with this information being released?
Ghislaine Maxwell can have only one defense if she goes to trial, and it must be that
guilty.
Not only is Ms. Giuffre lying, but that any other woman who comes forth and says that Ghislaine Maxwell participated in a sexual exploitation of these women when they were children, when they were teenagers, or that Ghislaine Maxwell groomed them and arranged their travel and enticed them, knowing what was going to happen with Jeffrey Epstein. She has to, that is Ghislaine Maxwell, has to try through the means of cross-examination and calling other witnesses to show that each and every one of the accusers who winds up in court testifying against her, that those people have to all be lying. It's very much, Anne-Marie, as what we saw in the Harvey Weinstein case, what we saw in the Bill Cosby case. It's one.
What about the Joe Biden case? What about the Me Too movement? I mean, you notice no one's talking about it, but this woman was groped, basically penetrated by Joe Biden when he was wearing his little gym bag she brought him. And, you know, the Me Too, because it wasn't the right political side, oh boy, these women need to be heard just like her.
One thing to have one accuser, it's another thing to have two, but it certainly becomes really difficult for a defendant if you have 3, 4, 5 or more. In this case, in the indictment, the superseding indictment that was filed against Ghislaine Maxwell, what we do have here are 3 women, minors 1, 2, and 3. But I wouldn't be surprised if the prosecution intends to call a whole host of other alleged victims who will accuse Ghislaine Maxwell of being a very active participant in this horrendous allegation, again, about a sexual trafficking empire that was not only run by Jeffrey Epstein, but was also run by Ghislaine Maxwell.
Like I said, I don't think Epstein's that smart. I know he was in the financial district and he helped banks, but I think he was extorting people. I believe that Maxwell is the brains of the outfit with the contacts.
Which brings me to my last question. Jeffrey Epstein is no longer with us.
Thank God.
On the books, officially a suicide. And you know, it took many years for the women who say they were victimized by him to come forward, to be taken seriously by authorities, and a number of them were ready to testify against him when he died. And so maybe they'll get a chance to sort of share their story again with Ghislaine Maxwell's case.
If you notice, when she's trying to say, yeah, he committed suicide, she can barely keep a straight face. She keeps looking down.
But I wonder, do you see, at least in terms of the way the argument is built, and almost maybe for a little bit of satisfaction, that for Ghislaine Maxwell, it's not just her on trial. In a way, it's the ghost of Jeffrey Epstein on trial with her.
There is no doubt that the ghost of Jeffrey Epstein is ever present in the trial of Ghislaine Maxwell, which will happen in July of 2021, should she actually go to
July of 2021. Now, I have a theory. Why so long? Why so long to get this woman in? Because if she's talking or not talking, they want time to check in on what this is. And if you've noticed, there's quite a few people that are wearing tethers. It's not a hip-hop thing. It's not a star thing. Some people, for instance, Tom Hanks, known pedophile. He is now wanting to, where's he moving to? I don't know, France or Italy. Yeah, he's moving. He's moving because he's moving. He's becoming a different country. I don't remember what it is exactly. These people, and you know, I was a big fan of Spielberg, but I guess he's involved too. If you check it out, you'll find out. All right, I want to finish this up and I'll switch to another video. But Maxwell, you heard it here first, is not the victim. She is the madam, the controller, overseer of this whole enterprise.
To trial. You cannot do this case without looking at both of them as being partners in a sexual trafficking empire of trafficking women who are really girls, who are ages 14, 15 to 21. It is said that what happened was that Jeffrey Epstein liked them young, and that one of the accusers is going to say that Ghislaine Maxwell used to go out trolling for, quote unquote, the nubiles, and that it was the young ones that he was looking for. And then, of course, he got tired of them and then wanted more and more. And
no, what he did is he and Maxwell groomed them and then hoard them out to their friends and videotaped, and then extortion on people.
And younger and younger and newer and newer. It's a terribly salacious and tawdry tale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you said it. Ricky Kleeman, thank you so much.
Thank you, Anne-Marie.
Now turning to...
Okay, I'm going to go back and I'm going to go to another one. But before we do that, I'm going to go to, let me see, which one am I going to go to? I'm going to go to, let's see, is this the one? Okay, I'm going to go to this one. Tucker is talking to Epstein's lawyer. Now, he has also been in the news back then and now that he was taking part in this sex with minors. He claims he wasn't, but let's see how he squirms on this, on Tucker Carlson.
But when you were on Pedo Island or at his place, when you borrowed his place in Palm Beach or your house in New York,
with my grandchildren.
Okay, but every picture
his grandchildren, my ass. That's a pretty big island. He might have brought them there. But this looks like a little pedophile to me.
I've ever seen of his properties, you see young women around. Were there no young women when you were on his plane or any of his properties?
I
None.
never saw him in the presence of a young woman. When I was there with my children and grandchildren, there was a housekeeper and the housekeeper's wife. That's it. Nobody
Interesting.
else was there. There were no pictures. I never saw him in the presence of a young woman. I never saw him in the presence of an underage woman. If I had, I would have turned him in immediately. My wife never saw him.
Remember, lawyers always tell the truth, especially defense lawyers. They are completely 100%, and money, fame will never stray them. They are legitimate liars.
In the presence of a young woman. The only time I was with him was in academic situations when I was representing him as a lawyer. Yes, he lent me his house because my granddaughter was in a soccer tournament, but it was empty. It was only the housekeeper, and it was just a friendly gesture to lend me his house. If I knew that anything had gone on in that house.
But
okay, so you see what happened there. Yeah, so I'm going to go back to here, and I'm going to go to another one. All right, so this one I'm going to start off. We're going to talk about what's happening. This is another one that today there's been quite a few people all with different views, similar to the same thing.
Gang, let's dive right in here. Former President Bill Clinton is now officially implicated in the sordid web surrounding convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Fox News is reporting that a trove of sealed documents have been released to the public as of last night, Thursday. Documents that Ghislain Maxwell's lawyers were doing everything they can to keep sealed. Ghislain Maxwell, of course, being Epstein's former girlfriend and confidant and accused madam who helped arrange Epstein's sexual abuse of underage girls. Now, according to Fox News, the newly released doc...
Think about this. Maxwell. Ghislain Maxwell. Her father was a multi-millionaire, crooked person, ended up dead floating in the water from his yacht. Like I said, the nut doesn't fall far from the tree. She's the one with all the influence. I don't see somebody, when people still cannot find where Epstein made the money. If you remember last week, they put a judge in charge to find the Denmark bank, which Epstein was involved in. They want to find out where he got all this money for all these places. All of a sudden, a UPS driver pulls up, the son answers the door. The UPS driver shoots him, kills him, shoots the husband up. She was down in the basement, and she just got put in charge to investigate these people. If you think it's for by incident, it's not. And not only that, it twists more because the guy they caught with a bullet hole, killed himself, kind of like Epstein, killed himself. Is a really crappy lawyer ambulance chasing lawyer. They said that had dealings with her before, but I think he was hired to do this. That's my opinion. I believe that they had something on him and he had to go do this, and when it didn't happen, either he took care of himself or they did it to loosen ends. That's why I'm afraid that Maxwell will end up being in some thing where, they say she's in this prison. Hope she doesn't hang herself, the guard's sleeping, and the cameras don't work, just like with Epstein. I hope wherever she is, she's talking and no one can get to her. And the only way to really do that is probably outside the United States. Let's continue.
Documents include a testimony from one of the chief accusers of Jeffrey Epstein. It's a woman by the name of Virginia Roberts Giuffre. Now, you may know that name. Giuffre was the one who brought down Prince Andrew, okay? She's the one, as I understand it, that blew the roof off the royal family with her accusations that she was sexually abused by Prince Andrew, and she was interviewed for an hour-long special on the BBC. She's a very, very credible witness. Her testimony is clearly in the process, I believe, of bringing Prince Andrew down as a royal public figure. So Virginia Giuffre is back in the limelight as it were, shedding light in the midst of this sordid darkness. And the release of this testimony that she gave comes back from 2011. It's a testimony directly implicating former President Bill Clinton in the whole Jeffrey Epstein saga. Specifically, according to Giuffre's testimony, Bill Clinton was accused of visiting the infamous private island of Epstein's, an island which has been notoriously dubbed as Orgy Island by many of Epstein's accusers because of the shenanigans that were going on there. And she claims that Clinton visited the island with 2 young girls. Now, here it is directly from Fox News. I'm quoting from the article. At one point in the conversation, the subject turned to Epstein's powerful friends. Jack Scarola, one of Giuffre's lawyers, asked her if she had any recollection of Epstein telling her that Bill Clinton owed him, quote, favors. Yes, I do, she responded, according to the documents. It was a laugh, though. Epstein would laugh it off. You know, I remember asking Jeffrey, what's Bill Clinton doing here, kind of thing. And he laughed it off and said, well, he owes me a favor. He never told me what the favors were. I never knew. I didn't know if he was serious. It was just a joke. The lawyer then asked her to clarify what she was referring to when she mentioned Clinton. And she said, the former president was on the island. She said Maxwell was also there, as well as a person named Emmy and 2 young girls. And were all of you staying at Jeffrey's house on the island, including Bill Clinton? Scarola asked. That's correct, she responded. So, wow. I mean, very damning testimony for sure. Now, just in case you don't know, Epstein owned a private island in the Caribbean that eyewitnesses claim was the site of numerous episodes of sexual abuse of underage girls. And of course, the scandal in all of this is that Epstein hosted a number of guests at the island that constitute some of the who's who of the world's globalist elite. And now we're finding, of course, it's people like Bill Clinton, Prince Andrew, and the like. In fact, according to these documents just released, we now know that Prince Andrew lobbied the U.S. government for a better plea deal for Epstein when he was first convicted for pedophilia, which Epstein received. Democratic county prison officials in Florida placed Epstein in a private wing of a county jail and allowed him to spend 12 hours a day, 6 days a week at his mansion throughout his entire sentence. So we're seeing just how the political class, our elite class, lives.
Now, I did not hear this, but think about this. You're in jail for not found guilty yet for underage sex with a minor, and your best friend Prince calls and gets you special treatment. That's because there's videotapes of him and other powerful people, and he thought that, hey, I'm going to get away with this, but they decided, hey, this could get out of hand. We got to nip this in the butt. He can't talk if he doesn't breathe. That's my opinion. I mean, everything points to it. You see this in this, you can't make this crap up. It's like in the movies.
Live according to their own rules. They make the laws that we all have to live under while they live above the law, right? And this, to me, is what's so significant about the whole Jeffrey Epstein sordid saga. What's so significant is that it underscores the radical discrepancy between the ruling class and the ruled, the political class and the people, a discrepancy which is currently fueling a worldwide populist revolt like we have never seen. And we've talked about this on a number of our other videos. But what we have to understand is that part of the political paradigm shift that we're seeing throughout the world today is a move away from the old partisan animosity. So we're no longer seeing the world in terms of Republicans versus Democrats or conservatives versus liberals or right versus left. Increasingly, more and more of the world's population is seeing the new political animosity as between the political class versus the people, The rulers versus the ruled. This is the massive populist wave that's quite literally sweeping the world and in turn sweeping the corrupt and debauched political class out of power from more and more countries, and for good reason. Populists are deeply suspicious of our elite class, our political and corporate and media and university class, who are seen as ruling for their own benefit rather than for the benefit of those they claim to represent. And so populism cuts across the grain of both political parties. We saw this with Brexit back in June of 2016, where otherwise loyal constituents of the left-wing Labour Party crossed over and voted for Brexit. They voted to leave the European Union, while their Labour Party representatives all voted to remain with the EU. We saw this with the Trump campaign just a few months later. Nearly 200 counties in Wisconsin, Iowa, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Minnesota that voted for the Democratic presidential candidate in every single presidential election in the last 30 years suddenly defected and voted for Trump by upwards of a 20-point margin. So populism cuts across the grain of both political parties and inevitably realigns politics around the new animosity between the people and the political class, the rulers and the ruled. And the whole Jeffrey Epstein saga further underscores this massive chasm between the people and our ruling class. It reveals just how depraved our ruling elite really are. They don't rule with any sense of common decency or civic virtue. They are power-hungry elitists and nothing more. Again, we've talked about this before, but I think it bears repeating. The Polish psychologist Andrew Lobachevsky, he studied the Marxist elite for over 40 years, and he concluded that they really are all psychopaths. And when the world is run by psychopaths, it becomes hysterical. It literally becomes insane. And I couldn't diagnose this situation better than that. Epstein and the Democrats and Democratic communication wing known as the mainstream media, who up until now deliberately ignored the whole Epstein saga. We have direct evidence of that from an uncovered video that caught ABC News reporter Amy Robach talking to her producer. Do you remember this? And what she had to say about the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing and the executives at ABC who covered up for him was utterly shocking. It was a hot mic moment, and she was caught back in August, I guess, of last year when the whole Epstein thing began to spin out of control after he was killed. So Epstein got himself perished, right? I think that was around August 10th. And this is when Robach went on this rant to her producer that was caught on hot mic on video. And according to Robach, ABC News is guilty of actually covering up substantial evidence, and not only Epstein's pedophilia, but also Bill Clinton's involvement with Epstein, as well as Prince Andrew. She said that there were threats, particularly from the royal family against ABC News, and the executives decided to kill the whole story. Now, of course, this lead reporter, Amy Robach, she was absolutely pissed because she could have been known forever as the one who broke the story on Epstein and his elite club of the who's who of globalist perverts. This would have been the hallmark of her journalistic career, but instead, she was silenced. She was silenced by fellow globalist elite media executives.
So, also, she was silenced, but we're finding out now that not only was ABC threatened, that the royals have some type of an agreement that no one from the royal family can ever be charged, kind of like diplomatic immunity. And that's what they're trying to use with the Princey boy there. So I think it's bullshit. All right, this is almost over. I'm going to switch to another one.
The Democrats, the globalists, corporatist globalist media, Epstein, Clinton, they really are all psychopaths. There's absolutely no point in trying to figure them out. They care nothing. Not one whit about these poor young girls. They don't care a rip about justice. They don't care about Epstein and what he did or allegedly did or whatever. They certainly don't give a rip about the admitted indiscretions of Bill Clinton. All these elite care about is power. That's it. They want to rule the world. All they care about is their own power, their own elite status in a globalized world that rules the masses in accordance with the supposedly salvific whims of a secular aristocratic elite into which these useful idiots in the corporatist globalist media have been admitted.
So not only that it's, globalist and everything like that, I believe it has to do with narcissism. One thing they say about Epstein and Maxwell, they were narcissists. They believed that anything they did, whatever, they were untouchable, and that by having things, videos, conference, everything on people, made them superior to people. And if you've ever met someone who's a narcissist, they stink up a room pretty bad.
Democrats and politics and media work together to try to pull off this charade, but the beauty of it all is it's all collapsing. That's why they hate Trump so much, gang. Make no mistake, as Tucker Carlson so often says, they hate Trump because they cannot control him. They hate him because they can't control him, which means that they hate us. And they hate us because in the end, we are winning. We're winning and they are losing. They are losing their power. They are losing their influence. They are losing their affluence. And there is nothing, absolutely nothing that they can do to ultimately stop their inevitable demise.
Okay, I'm going to go back and go to, let's see, another one in here. I'll find this other one in here. Another one in here. Okay, this is no longer about Epstein and Maxwell, but the final thoughts are: no one knows where she really is. No one's even seen a picture of her. Okay, they show sketches that she was arraigned and everything, but no one knows where she is really. But we have a serious problem. We have an election coming up. They're trying to shove. They say voter suppression will be bad if people can't vote at home and send billions of voting things to whoever, legal, illegal, doesn't matter. So this guy, I listened to him a little bit. Listen to what he's got to say.
Welcome to Kingswood Community Center. Actually, that's the one down I used to work. As a joke. You didn't know where we were anyway.
He's dumb as fuck.
Isn't that clip crazy, guys? How scary is it to know that that's their pick, man? Holy hell, we're in trouble. This potato doesn't know what planet he's on. He doesn't know what decade it is. He doesn't know where he's at. Right? He just had his please clap Jeb Bush moment over there telling everybody that this is just a joke. Hey, we're at this convention center. Oh, no, wait, that's the convention center way down the street that I worked at in 1964. No, that's a joke. Don't worry, everybody. Holy shit, this man is very quickly deteriorating right in front of everybody's face. But you know what? As batshit crazy as old creepy Joe here is, he's not as crazy as the lefty base. Oh, hell no. This man, despite not knowing what planet he's on, still understands that law and order is key to winning the Oval Office. And so he came out and he chastised these lunatics from the left-hand side of politics who are burning down these Democrat-run shitholes, who are shooting black people left and right and stealing from businesses while they burn.
Well, this video is just going to continue talking about this, but basically Joe Biden, after they kept him in his basement for so many months and only allowing him to use a teleprompter, he gets up, that was today, and doesn't know where the hell he is. Now, this is somebody running for president. There has to be a point where some responsibility, when somebody has lost their marbles, to someone to say, hey, Joe, have a seat. we're going to get you some help. But that's not going to happen because they decided that to win, they couldn't have a socialist Bernie. So they stole the election for the second time. First time was with Hillary, and then this time. So now they have somebody that's got dementia and probably wearing Depends. This is where 2020 election for 2021 is going to happen. It's pretty scary. When I was a kid, I wasn't into politics, wasn't into too much, but on a personal note, just so you know, when I was a kid, I never heard any racist jokes whatsoever. The only thing I ever heard when I was a kid, about 5, 6 years old, heard people saying Polish jokes. Didn't understand them, but I never heard any other racist jokes about any other nationality whatsoever. I mean, I was real old before I even heard of a hillbilly joke. And, I'm just saying that we should all learn to get along. Boy, this thing is bothering me. We should all learn to get along. Everybody has different opinions. People have different likes, dislikes. Not everybody's going to like the person as much, but we have a duty to get along with others. And I hate to see it, that if we can't join together, and because, folks, when Donald Trump was elected, they said, oh, well, this is funny and stuff like that. No, he had a purpose. He was coming in, and he knew, like some people, because he was a businessman, that China was on their 100 or 150 year plan to destroy the United States and become the #1 economy, and basically turn the United States into a third world country, which they almost did. Now, after the COVID-19, the pandemic, the mask wearing, the so many thousands of people dead, we find out that China, which we rely to get electronics and little toys from, also are about 80% of all our medicine. They're not our friend. Why would we ever have somebody processing things that we put in our mouth to get better? How do we, all it takes is for them to pass out aspirin or anything like that, kill a bunch of people. I mean, and Trump has made forward, he's actually using Kodak. They used to make the Kodak Instacam. Now they're starting to make medicine. And boy, oh boy, it is so effing refreshing to see American jobs and people with the know-how. Remember, someone told me this a long time ago, that the Chinese never had an original thought. Never had an original thought. But they do like to improve things. They take things apart and then rebuild it so they can steal the intellectual property. Hello, artist. How you doing? I see you're on there. So I usually just do these videos like that, but I just wanted to get that off my chest. I wanted to talk about that. Oh, what is she writing here? There's no color, wretched, or gray, or straight, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I agree, artist. I agree. I'm just saying that we were heading to be third world country. Now, I've traveled around the world for years, been to a lot of countries. One of the ones is India, and that's a third world country. Disguised as a, let's say, a tech. They say that they're the head of the tech. What they do is they make CDs there for Microsoft and everybody else, and for Apple and everything. So, all right, thanks. I'm getting thumbs up from somebody. Appreciate it. So, what people don't seem to realize, I have to turn those announcements off, but what they don't seem to realize is that we were heading down the wrong path. I've said this, I think, in something before, that I voted for Ross Perot because I wasn't a big fan of Bush Sr., and I didn't like Clinton, and I didn't like the idea of NAFTA. And there was a little guy about 4'5" in the middle of the stage. There was Bush on one side, Clinton on the other, presidential thing, and then there's this little short guy with big ears, kind of looked like a mouse. His name was Ross Perot, and he had a little easeway type board up, and he had this little red pointer, and he talked about NAFTA, and he says, NAFTA, if you let these two people get NAFTA in here, you're going to hear a sucking sound of all your jobs leaving. 30 years later, look where we are. I'm just saying that America is the greatest country in the world. Unfortunately, we've sold ourselves out like a whore. It's time to pull the britches back up, close shop, and bring things back. I'm going to sign off. I just wanted to give a little bit of view. I'm going to be trying to do some other things on the Hardcore Show. I'm new at this. This is only my 5th episode, and I had to figure out all this stuff and figure it all out. I'm not really great at it, but I'm going to learn how to do split screen, maybe do some Skype or something calls and get some people in and discuss stuff. But if you are watching or you have watched, I do appreciate it. And peace out for everybody, and stay safe. If it's, just watch yourself. I mean, panic causes the world to be unsure, and when you're unsure, that's when shit goes down. Appreciate it, everybody. Have a great Saturday and Sunday, and if you don't have to work, hopefully they'll get this stimulus bill out and let this money keep flowing for people like restaurant people and stuff that don't have a job to go to because it's stopped. And I'm in Michigan, so Whitmer is shutting things down daily. She's a little Nazi. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Peace out.